Hi, and welcome to Oswego Sports Update, your home for Oswego Sports and beyond. I'm Evan Kalus.
And I'm Joe Manganiello. Our top stories for tonight: Oswego men's basketball is going to host the first round of the NCAA tournament, and the NHL trade deadline is come and gone. All of this and more, so get ready, because this is OSU.
Go.
Welcome to another semester of OSU. Lots of things happening in the world of sports. Evan?
Joe, we have so much to cover, so let's start right away with Oswego basketball. The Oswego State Lakers men's basketball team is entering uncharted waters. The team went 23-4 under second-year coach Adam Stockwell, who won SUNYAC Coach of the Year. The Lakers' best player, Chad Burge, ran away with SUNYAC Player of the Year honors after posting the second highest points per game average in the conference with 18.4 points per game. The team boasts a loaded young talent that out-rebounds, out-defends, and outscores their opponents by big-time margins. Joe, how good is this team, and how far can they go?
Well, I love this Oswego State team. I think the key to their success all year has been this really team-oriented basketball approach. You got Burge, who's their leading scorer, but you also got players like Hayden Ward, who's fourth in the conference in rebounds with 8 rebounds a game. You got players like Chris Gilks, Sean Michael, who very quietly is in the top 10 in Division III for assist-to-turnover ratio. They're a team that lulls teams to sleep. They don't blow many teams out, but they win by about 10, 12 points, and that second half for them is crucial. They usually get a big lead, and they just hold it. Very fun team. Coach Stockwell's done a great job all season with this roster. Yeah,
I do like them a lot. They're an interesting team. They're streaky. They've won 16 straight games before their last loss, so it's going to be interesting to see how they will respond against Wells College, who is a kind of an underdog team. They won their conference championship in overtime, which they weren't supposed to. How do you think that matchup's going to go?
Well, you know, obviously, with Oswego State, they come in with a little more hype. They're nationally ranked. They come in with a big record, the 16-game winning streak. Wells College on this regular season did not have that much consistency. They only won 17 games to compare to 23 for Oswego State. So coming in this game, I think Wells has the talent as that Oswego State does, but can they win? Can they prove that they can hang with them? Let's say Oswego State gets up by 5, 6 points late in the ballgame. Can Wells come back? I don't know if that's proven. I think Oswego State's going to have the big advantage, not to mention they have the home court advantage. I think Oswego State pulls it out.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It's going to be interesting to see in the second round, both good team matchups. But one interesting thing to see is Mac Porter on Wells College actually played at Oswego High School, and now he's coming back.
Very interesting. In NCAA Division I basketball, the postseason is still a few weeks away. However, with Selection Sunday fast approaching, the AP Top 25 has become as tight as it's been all season. Ohio State sits atop the #1 ranking in the poll as the Buckeyes are 28-2 on the year. Kansas, BYU, and Duke follow, while receiving a fraction of first-place votes. And Pittsburgh, the #1 team in the Big East, round out the top 5. Texas, whose record has slipped to 24-5, has fallen all the way down to 7 in the polls after being just #1 a few days ago. Evan, with just a matter of days before the madness begins, who among the national contenders has the most to prove?
I think it's Pittsburgh and Texas. People are saying they're #1 seeds, but Pittsburgh's been on quite a slide right now, and so has Texas, losing, I think, 3 of their last 4 games. It's interesting to see how they'll do, but I think they can pull it out in the conference tournaments. But I think Duke also, they're on a little bit of a slide. I know tonight, I don't know what the final score is now, they're having trouble with Clemson, and then they have North Carolina on Sunday, and they are defending national champs, so everyone is shooting for them.
You made a couple of key points. You want to see what Pittsburgh can do down the stretch. If they're the #1 team in the Big East, I know the Big East is very talented, and they've had some tough matchups, including South Florida, which isn't a tournament team at this point, but I want to see what Pittsburgh can do. Can they pull away in the Big East? I want to see what Duke can do, because in my opinion, coming off the national championship, I don't know if there's a more talented team than Duke. I want to see if they can make a big run, maybe win the ACC tournament confidently, go out and say, hey, we're a #1 seed. They haven't been getting #1 seed talk as of late. And I think the surprise team all year has been BYU, with Jimmer Fredette being a National Player of the Year candidate. You know, they lose one of Jimmer's best teammates to a suspension coming up, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But can BYU continue the success? And that's going to be an interesting storyline. But Evan, what do you think about Kansas?
Kansas, they're an interesting team to me. They did have troubles with their forward being suspended, but now he's back on the team, which I kind of questionable with the how quick he was, suspended. And now he's back on. But I love the Morris brothers. I think they're great. You know, they're always a dominant team in the Big 12, but I think they'll be a #1 seed. So with the NHL trade deadline come and gone, there were a few players who were dealt and a few who weren't. Forward Brad Boyes was sent to Buffalo Sabres for practically nothing and didn't disappoint, scoring a game-winning goal against the Rangers. Brad Richards of the Dallas Stars was a pick that went nowhere, and his team now looks like they can make a run. As for goaltenders, Thomas Vokoun didn't leave Florida and is likely that he will leave as a free agent. Joe, with all these moves and many others atop of them, who were some of the winners and who were some of the losers?
Well, and you didn't mention this. I think my team to watch rather at the deadline was the Chicago Blackhawks. They're coming off a 5-game winning streak. They're making great strides, but they need defense. They needed defense, and they went out and got a player who could give that to them. They're only 15 points out of first place, but they add defenseman Chris Campoli, and what he gives to this team is another young defensive-oriented player who can give this team more attitude, I think, on that side of the ice. The Blackhawks right now battling for that 8th spot in the playoffs, and they won the Stanley Cup last year. I think if they do all the right things and make the playoffs, they're going to be a team to beat in the playoffs no matter what their seed is. Yeah,
they are a very fearful team with winning the Cup, defending champs. But I'm kind of disappointed in what the Rangers did. They only acquired Brian McCabe, who is a defenseman, but I don't know. Is that all you can do? You're around the 8th seed, 2-3 points ahead of the Sabres, but I'm kind of disappointed in what they did.
The annual NFL Combine was held in Indianapolis, Indiana, and many NFL fans were slobbering at the chance to see some football players play, despite the fact that the Combine is more of a science experiment than a football game. Some players wowed with gutsy performances, like wide receiver Julio Jones' 4.39 40 time with a broken leg. Others, like quarterback Cam Newton, had their fair share of struggles. Evan, what impressed you the most from the Combine, and who still needs some work?
The person who impressed me most is Stephen Piella of Oregon State. Did you hear about that? He bench pressed 225 pounds 49 times, NFL Combine record. He actually said he would have done 50 if he didn't lose count, which that was my most impressive. But Cam Newton kind of disappointed me. You figured the way Tim Tebow went about it last year, just determined, but I guess that's the way Tim Tebow's attitude is. And Cam Newton, he had trouble with his 3-step drop, his 5-step drop. He was throwing high and off target. He kind of disappointed me.
Well, on that note, I think Cam Newton was just disappointing. I think the problem with Cam Newton is we saw his, what do you call it, the media workout from a few weeks back where he looked so great, but the problem is when you put him in the Combine, he just looked like he was facing so much pressure. When there wasn't any defensive lineman coming after him, his balls were sailing. Look, I'm not a guy who puts that much stake in the Combine. What I can tell you is he looked great. He's a physical specimen. He's big. He's fast. I want to see his pro day, and I think once he gets drafted, no matter where he gets drafted, I want to see what he does once he's in the league. But he certainly didn't look great at the Combine.
But would you necessarily take him over Blaine Gabbert or Ryan Mallett?
At this point, I'm taking Gabbert over him, but Cam Newton is certainly the better prospect. But on that note, we'll take a quick break and throw some stories up for grabs when we come back, so stick with us. We'll be back in 90 seconds.
Hey guys, it's Q again here for the 2nd season of Oswego Soundtrack. Make sure you guys tune in with Eric and Connor. Jams out for you guys at 9:30 every Tuesday, all right? Make sure you're here Tuesday, 9:30. Don't be late.
Hi, I'm Woodsy Owl, and I'm here to tell you about a dirty word, water pollution. Kids, it's up to us to keep our lakes and streams clean and beautiful. We've been polluting the water with all kinds of junk like paper, cans, and gooey gunk. It looks ugly, and it's killing our fish and ducks. Please don't throw junk in the water. Give a hoot. Don't pollute. In the sea or in the woods, hot people matters all.
Hi there, welcome back to OSU. Guys, we're going to throw some stories up for grabs real quick here. First on our story, we got some news in the NFL. Really looking into next season, we've had all the talks about the situation with the lockout and whether or not there will even be a season. What do you guys think about the whole next season?
I think that there will be a season next year. Obviously, they're not going to get the deal done by tomorrow, which expires in a couple hours. But I think there's too much money to be made by the owners and too much money to be lost by the players. So I think they will play.
Evan, I couldn't agree more. The reality is that this is a pressure situation. It's not going to get done right away. You can't fix this overnight. There's a lot at stake. But sometime this summer, I would be shocked if they don't pull this thing together by, let's say, July, August, get training camp going on time. There's just too much at stake. The NFL is a billion-dollar industry. It's America's sport. It's going to get done. The question is just when. It's not going to be tomorrow by the deadline.
No, it's not. I would be devastated if we lost football for a whole Sunday. I can never imagine that.
For one Sunday?
I can't go with that.
Brian, what's next?
Well, Miguel Cabrera played in the spring training game just 1 week after being arrested for a DUI. Evan, should the league let this happen?
I'm not sure right now. He still hasn't gone to court, so he's still innocent, as we can see, but from the reports, he is guilty. I would let him go out in spring training and participate with the team, but I think when the regular season actually comes, that the Tigers should either suspend him or Bud Selig should step in and make an example of him, because enough's enough.
Well, I couldn't disagree more, Evan. I think the reality is that Miguel Cabrera's life and health is on the line right now. This is a chronic issue. Baseball should be a secondary issue for him right now. I think you gotta shut him down right now. Don't penalize the team and put him out there and practice with him like he's gonna play, when the answer is he shouldn't be. Maybe there's gonna be even criminal investigation, but I think the bigger issue is his health. He needs a month or two to really think things through and get back on the right track. Major League Baseball needs to help him out. Get a guy like Josh Hamilton almost. Get a guy that can follow him around and make good decisions. Brian?
Thanks, Joe. The Oswego State lacrosse team will open up a new season this Saturday against Morrisville under a new head coach. Joe, how about the new look Lakers team?
Well, the thing with the Lakers lacrosse is they're coming off a 6-10 season, but they do bring back their leading scorer, Andy Lever. He's an attackman. He's very well accomplished, 43 points coming in from last season. And they have some other upperclassmen. You got Britt Leone and Adam Jean, but the problem is they're a very young team, and they're coming off a struggling season. And I just don't see them being much of a contender. Maybe they'll avoid the basement, but otherwise I don't see them winning too many games.
Yeah, I see them definitely improving from the 6-10 record, but maybe 1 or 2 more years. I understand the coach will bring some new fire in them, but I think maybe 1 or 2 years down the road and they can be a real contender. Brian?
Starters Chris Carpenter and Adam Wainwright for the St. Louis Cardinals have both had their fair share of injuries this spring training. How are the Cardinals going to fix this pitching predicament, guys?
I have no clue right now. Carpenter's injury does not seem like it's too serious. It's a hamstring, but who knows how far that can go. But losing Adam Wainwright is just devastating for them. He's their best pitcher, maybe one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. I just don't see how Jamie Garcia and Chris Carpenter and whoever else they have in there can help him.
Well, the injury to Adam Wainwright is more important to this Cardinals organization than the Albert Pujols situation. And the reasoning for that is Pujols' contract was probably not going to get done. I think most people, if you look at it reasonably, it wasn't going to get done in the preseason. There isn't enough angst involved. In the offseason, they're going to work that out. You can't work out an injury. The fact that Wainwright's not going to be able to pitch for another year, devastating to that staff. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Carpenter, who has his own injury concerns. Just a lot of issues in the St. Louis organization right now. You hope they can fix it. You hope you can re-sign Pujols at the end of it. Brian?
All right, so with only about a month left until the NHL playoffs, both conferences wide open for the final spots. Guys, who picks up the final spots in the East and the West?
Well, I already talked about it. I think Chicago is going to take the West, that 8th seed. They're a very talented team, and I know they gave up a lot in the offseason, and we've talked about how they've had defensive struggles, but with the additions at the trade deadline and with the talent that they have already on roster, I think Chicago is going to take care of business, get in the playoffs, and really push. I like Buffalo to come up When you got Miller in the goal, you always got an advantage against the other team. I think they're going to take that last seed in the East, and very similar to Chicago, they're going to use their talent. They're going to ride it into the playoffs.
Yeah, I do like Buffalo with Ryan Miller and their recent pickups. They also have 3 more games in hand than the Rangers, which is key down the stretch, because when the Rangers are waiting and watching, the Sabres are playing and could be taking their playoff spot. But I'm liking Anaheim to take the last seed. They have experience with winning the Cup a couple years ago with Jaguar as their goaltender. I like them in the West. Brian? Oh, well, thanks, Brian. We'll be coming back to you in just a bit. Right now, we'll take another break, and we come back, we'll do a bit of role play, so stay tuned.
Role play. Was gonna be there anyway. But thinking of you's working on my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon delight. My sister shows together, making sparks ignite, and the thought of loving you so excited. Sky
Rockets in flight. Woo! Afternoon delight.
I think you got it.
Hi, we're Real Big Fish.
And you're watching WTOP 10.
Like the number.
I'm Wendy Cohen. I graduated from Oswego way back in 1981. And my favorite TV station way back then, of course, WTOP.
Hey, Oswego, you ready for some role play? Let's go. All right, Joe, I'm a senior at Oswego State who brought the hockey program back up from the cellar. I have constantly gotten better and much in my senior year, and best one yet. I played one of my best games of my career, and we lost to Newman last weekend in double overtime. This game got me honors as Athlete of the Week. Who am I?
Well, Evan, you are Emmy Williams. And Emmy Williams, nothing short of magnificent was her career for the Lady Lakers. She had a 94% save percentage this season. In her senior year, she got voted to ECAC West second team. Just, you can't give anything more than kudos to Emmy for a great career. She's really put this Laker team on the map. I think moving forward with players like Manganiello and Mackenzie Lee, this is a great young program that's going to do great work in the ECAC West. All right, Evan. I am one of the best athletes at Oswego State University. I'm currently 8th all-time in school history in points scored, and I have led my team in scoring the last 3 seasons. When I return from my senior year next year, I'll be bringing my 3rd consecutive All-SUNYAC Second Team Award to the table. Evan, who am I?
You are Kayla Ryan. You were right. She's a great scorer. She has 1,010 points already, but she's also a great rebounder with 505. Next year, I'm really excited about this year. Next year with what they're doing, and I think they'll be even better than this year. So Joe, I am a catcher in the Major League Baseball. I have been an anticipated prospect in my ball club after also much anticipated rookie Steven Strasburg proved himself early on in his career. I just got my first hit of spring training against our rival, the Mets. Who am I?
Well, you would be none other than Bryce Harper. And you got to feel really good for where the Washington Nationals are as a franchise. You look at, they have Strasburg now coming up as a pitching prospect, and we've heard about the injury. He's not going to be able to come back till 2012, but by all accounts, he will come back fine. The surgery usually goes well. But Harper now is a position player prospect. They went out and signed a very nice crop of free agents, including Jason Worth, to a $150 million deal. Heck, they're even rumored to be in the Pujols sweepstakes. The Nationals are a great young franchise doing all the right things. Evan, I am an NFL quarterback. I am a Heisman Trophy winner and a 2-time Pro Bowler. I own the record for the highest completion percentage in my team's history and the most passing yards and passing touchdowns in a season for my team. With all that said, I want out from this team, and I don't care how it happens. I'd rather retire than play here next season. Who am I?
You are Carson Palmer. It's a shame that this relationship with the Bengals and Palmer have just disintegrated. You know, I would love to know the story and what's really all about. Is it because he's not getting enough money, which he says he has $80 million in the bank, so that can't be the case. But is it with like Ocho Cinco and with the relationship with the coach? I hope he doesn't retire because he's a great quarterback and I love watching him play. So let's hope he doesn't retire. Joe, I am maybe one of the greatest women tennis players of all time. I have won 13 majors. I have won 13 double majors with my sister. I have not played this year, and today I underwent emergency treatment for a blood clot in my lungs. Joe, who am I?
Well, Evan, you are Serena Williams, and on a very serious note, we wish very good luck to the Williams family. Serena's going through a rough injury right now. I don't even know if you can call it injury. It's more just a tragic situation with the blood clot in her lungs. You hope she can come back to full health. It really has nothing to do with tennis or sports. It's just a matter of her getting back to full health. But moving forward, by all accounts, she should be able to play tennis again in the future, maybe a year down the road, a year and a half. And she's one of the greatest women's tennis players of all time. Special player. We wish her the best of luck. Well, when we come back, we'll finish this show strong with some high or low, so don't touch that dial.
They're always here for you. And we'll have the dollar menu every day, only at McDonald's. These leaves are a little gauge.
The forest is precious. One careless act caused by people and its beauty could be gone for a lifetime. Protect our friends in the forest.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Down to the wire. Let's go back to Brian for a little game called High or Low. Brian.
All right, guys. As you know, we're going to be playing for winners here on High or Low. So, is 100% a high or low chance that the Lakers men's hockey team makes the NCAA tournament?
I say 100% chance. Even though they lost in the semifinals, they were still ranked #1 at the time. So even though the teams behind them in the rankings don't win their conference championship, that still means that they will be ahead of them in the rankings or in the selection committee that pick them. So it's 100% chance.
Evan, I couldn't agree more. The reality is that we're talking about a team that was #1 in Division III for a reason. And this is a very talented hockey team. They know what they're doing. Coach Gosick has them prepared to play great hockey. They lose one game, and they almost deserve the suspense after losing a game they probably shouldn't have in the playoffs. But by all accounts, they're going to be ready to play and contend for a championship this year. Great hockey team, 100%. Brian.
All right, thanks, guys. Not too different on your approaches. Is there a 50% chance that the Miami Heat become the best team in the league with the addition of Mike Bibby?
Well, I think it's a lower, and I'm going to go as low as 5%. I think the reality is that Mike Bibby isn't as good as Mario Chalmers, who is the team's current point guard. The reality is Mike Bibby is a jump shooter at this point in his career, but he's a small player. He can only play the one. And I think if you look at Miami's roster compared to Boston, who just added Troy Murphy, you look at the Magic with Dwight Howard, who is making an MVP push, the Bulls, Derrick Rose, he's making his own MVP case. I think Miami, if they're going to win the East, it's because of 3 other players on that roster. It has nothing to do with Mike Bibby. 5%.
I think that they will be better than any team. I think this is because Mike Bibby is trying to resurge his career right now, and I think with the chance to play with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, I think he'll really turn his game up, and I think they're unbeatable. Brian?
All right, I'm going to give that one to Evan for that. I do think the Heat are going to be better with him. Is there a
That's
75% chance that Jimmer Fredette is a top 10 pick in the NBA draft next year?
I do not think so. I know Joe hates this, but he's 6'2", which, you know, is tall, but in the NBA it's not. He scores a lot of points, you know, no doubt about that, but he only averages about 4 assists a game. So as a point guard in the NBA, I think he's going to need to do better than that. I need to think he works on his game, but I do think he will be a great player in the NBA, just not top 10 material.
All right, so that's 2 different arguments. We're talking about how good he's going to be in the NBA or if he's going to be a top 10 pick. But you know what? I'm going to decide to combine both of them. I'm going to say it'd be crazy for 10 teams to pass on him in the draft. We're talking about a player who Kevin Durant acknowledges is the best scorer right now in the world at basketball. I don't care what level he's at. His size, 6'2", 6'3", with some bulk at the point guard position in the NBA is perfect. I'm going 100% chance he's a top 10 talent in the NBA. Brian?
All right, well, I got to give that one to Evan. That pretty much sums it all up. But, all right, we're coming down to the wire, so I'll send it back over to you guys for that.
All right.
The Yankees need a lefty. Do the Yankees get Francisco Liriano from the Twins?
I think the Yankees are going to get somebody at lefty. I don't see Liriano leaving the Twins. They like him too much. Tony Parker is believed to be out for the next 2 to 4 weeks with a calf injury. How important is he to the Spurs?
They're basically locked up a playoff spot. It may actually give them a rest, and it'll give them a rest. So I think they'll do good, and it's really not the big deal. It may actually help them. The San Jose Sharks signed goaltender Anidi Niemi to a 4-year contract extension. Was it worth it?
This deal is totally worth it. Whenever you can get a talented goaltender on your team for long periods of time, that is good for your team. Oh, by the way, he was a goaltender in the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Great talent. Brandon Davies was dismissed from the BYU basketball team for violating the school's honor code. How important was he to the team?
Extremely important. Now Jimmer Fredette's going to need to score more points. I really do see this affecting them in the tournament. Maybe not in the first couple rounds, but when you get into the Sweet 16, Elite 8, I don't know if they can do it anymore. After a poor showing, do you think the Buffalo Bills are still targeting Cam Newton?
I wasn't convinced that they were in the beginning. I think the reality is the Bills need one of these cream-of-the-crop defensive linemen, maybe even offensive line. Cam Newton isn't a top 3 pick. I don't care how bad the position looks in this year's draft. If they're going to go quarterback, they probably should go with Blaine Gabbert. Cam Newton is not going to be a Buffalo Bill. Barry Bonds pled not guilty to perjury for his alleged steroid use. Do you believe him?
Well, how did he get in the courtroom? His head's so big from the steroids. But I really wish to believe that he didn't do steroids, but I mean, if you just look at him, he's just ginormous from what he used to be. The Thunder inked up Kendrick Perkins for 4 years before his first game. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. They made the move for a reason. They traded a very talented player, Jeff Green, to get a championship center. They got him. If you look at Westbrook, Durant, and Perkins for the next 4 years in the future, it's a great move by the Thunder, even though he hasn't even played a game yet for them. Now, Evan, this weekend, a lot of good games on for college and National Basketball Association basketball. I think the game of the weekend is going to be Miami Heat playing in San Antonio, playing the Spurs. Friday night, 9:30 p.m., a great matchup between 2 teams who might be the 2 best teams in the league.
Yes, very well so. But with Tony Parker being gone, kind of lessens the matchup a little bit, but it'll still be interesting to watch just because the Heat need to prove something that they can beat a decent team, and San Antonio is the best team.
Well, with Mike Bibby playing, I mean, I don't know if they need Tony Parker to beat them. But
Mike Bibby in the playoffs, not Bibby in the offseason. So My pick, though, is Duke, North Carolina. Going to be a great game. So, Brian, what do you want?
Well, only mistake tonight that I could catch. Brad Boys, I don't think scored the game winner. He did score his first goal, but great job tonight, guys.
All right, well, that's all the time we had this evening, Evan. It was great joining you back for the program. For everyone here at WTOP, become a fan of our Facebook page and stay up to date on the show info. For Evan, I'm Joe, Oswego Sports Update.